Welcome to the Digital Marketing Mentor. I'm your host, Danny Gavin, and together with industry leaders and marketing experts, we'll explore the meeting point of mentorship and marketing. We'll discover how these connections have affected careers, marketing strategies, and lives. Now get ready to get human. Hello, I'm Danny Gavin, founder of Optage, marketing professor and the host of the Digital Marketing Mentor. Today, I'm excited to welcome Ashna Makin, who's a senior paid ad specialist and founder of her own practice with more than 8 years running paid media on Google and Meta. She's worked across 150 business niches in North America and has profitably managed over $75 million in ad spend, which is crazy. What sets her apart is that she doesn't just run campaigns. She builds full funnel strategies, obsesses over lead quality, and ties every dollar back to actual business growth. She's also one of the panelists alongside me at SMX Advanced in Boston next week, where we'll be discussing agentic PPC. Today, we're talking about paid ads that actually drive growth, lead gen for service businesses, and her philosophy of leaving things better than she found them. Ashna, welcome to the Digital Marketing Mentor.
Thank you. So excited to be doing this with you finally.
Me too. It's so cool that we met each other. It's meant to be. We're going to be in person next week, but it's so cool that we get to dive deeper. So I'll get to learn more about you, which is so cool.
Likewise, yeah.
So you've built a career spanning so many niches and a lot of ad spend. Where did your marketing journey begin? And what first drew you to paid media?
Going back to 8 years, I first started my career right off school. Right off like graduation school and stuff like that. I started off actually as a sales executive, and I did that role for 1.5 years. And I think that still helps me because it teaches you a lot of patience. It gives you insights on what happens, like how sales processes work. I did that role for 1 year. And the crazy part is when we were like having discussions and I was going to be promoted to the next level, it's the same day during that meeting, I told my boss, like, I'm resigning. So that's one of the craziest but day of my career is there is a meeting to give me a promotion, but I'm like, hey, I'm done with sales job. This is not what I want to do because it's like working weekends and like, there are just some crazy expectations around sales.
Were they very surprised, like when they heard that?
Oh, yeah. I think they were very surprised because I think this is the first time that was happening within their organization, something like this. But of course, I had this plan long back in my mind, and digital like was trying to. I'm from India, so like digital did exist, but it was like companies were trying to transition over there. We still had like traditional media going on and like all those things. So there was this one webinar, or you can say event that I had attended in my college, where they were speaking about digital marketing being like the next big thing, and luckily it has been. So I left my job. I took a course for like 3 months, and I think most of us will agree. Most of us are going to agree over here, and that's how it has been all through years. Finding that right course or finding that right mentorship in digital marketing, especially when it comes to paid ad, is very difficult. Like I've literally invested and wasted thousands of dollars going to fancy institutes only to be like learning everything theoretically. Like they did not even like good. I'm talking about good 3-4 months. Reputed institutes, they are not even opening Google Ads Manager. What I am being taught is totally different from what I actually did on my job. And I was like, done. I again spent some time in finding in that right program. There was a very small local institute back then, and now I think it's become too big and crazy. So I really wanted to be like, hey, I need some practical hands-on training because that's how I learn. That's how I'm as a human being. I need to practically do it. I need to visualize it. I'm a visual lady. I tell everyone in every space, I'm a visual lady. If you're talking to me, like I need to see it on the screen. Even when I'm discussing ad copies and stuff like that with my clients, I'm like, I need something on the screen. I need to view it before I do it. So this was like, like a training program that I took for 3 months, completely hands-on, right from like logging into Google Ads, creating that ads manager, like Google Ads platform, creating campaigns, running stuff. One thing that really helped me as my career progressed is anybody who reaches out to me on LinkedIn and is looking for advice, I always tell them initial 2 to 3 years of your career, you should definitely work in an agency environment because that is something that has really helped me like even land a good job when I came to Canada as an immigrant. That is something that has really helped me. And that is something that I see missing with like media buyer or fresh talent these days. And that, like, coming back to my journey, working in the agency life for 2.5, 3 years really, really helped me. You need to, I always say, you need to put in those extra hours. Like, agencies will come with that demand. Put in those extra hours, but they are really going to pay off on through your career. That's one thing about me. I'd really like to go over and above my job duties and see how I can improve. And the only downside is then if I don't see growth beyond that, I quit and I move to something else because that's how I am. I need to see growth. I need to see myself, doing more things. I need to be adding value to your business. Otherwise, like, I want to do some interesting project. And that's what I tell my clients. Yeah.
So is that what led you to go out on your own and find your own practice?
Yeah. So, yeah, like 2.5 years in a very well established big name agency in the US. Like, I was in India, but we were managing campaigns for the North American clients. So that gave me an added advantage. After that, this 6 months, I moved to another startup agency in Bombay, now Superflow Agency. This is where my career changed 360-degree. I was no more a platform specialist, like a Google media expert or like a media buyer. This is where I learned everything that I do these days, like funnel, looking at revenue metrics, looking at like everything, like from the start to the end, and not just speak about like keyword bidding or like the next fancy strategy or the next big P Max, AI Max coming into that. So like these 6 months literally changed how I look at like marketing or paid ads as a acquisition channel right now. And after that, like having good solid experience of 4.5 years now into agency, I made like careful decisions that now I just want to work in house because I was like, I have this exposure. I have spent that extra time, dealing with clients, working with agencies. I mean, then after that, it's been a very strategic decision of only working in house. And I love that. As of Feb is when I started venturing into full time. So even when I was working full time, I used to do consulting on the side. I used to conduct a lot of training programs and stuff like that. But yeah, like now is the time when I have gone on my own, and I really like it. Yeah, it's a great journey.
A lot of businesses treat paid ads as a traffic tap. You turn it on, you get visitors, you hope for conversion. What's the fundamental mindset shift that separates businesses that grow from paid ads from those that just spend money?
So one thing is having a repeatable and a predictable system in place. What I have been able to do in the last 8 years is have a predictable system so that even if like I do not show up tomorrow, anybody can use that document and they are able to create a good, successful campaign strategy. And like that's what I break it down in my training programs. Like even before you think about that campaign, like there has to be a lot of business strategy. Like one thing that I am like just today morning, I was thinking about myself as a career. It's like the 8 years back, every morning it just used to be like keywords, ads. But right now, my work as a campaign manager starts from what is going to be the bottom line impact revenue, what is going to be the impact on the business, how can I prioritize this task so that like the 80/20 rule is what I follow. Like, what is going to be the biggest impact for my client's business? And then somewhere second comes like the campaign planning and those predictable systems that I spoke about. So that is what that differentiates, companies who are running profitable paid ads versus who are like just on tap, on and off, like stop. This is what was my talk in Hero Conference 2 years back. Like, stop getting out of the on and off cycle. And this is something that I mostly see people doing with Meta. Google, maybe less, which is good. But like Meta is always like on and off, run it for 2 weeks off, then you start stuff like that. And the right mindset, like you need to have an expectation that Google ads work very differently. They can be very profitable if you do the right things and give it the right amount of time. Like if you're considering to add Google ads as a predictable system, you have to give it 60, 90 days of like learning period, like testing, and like you need to give it time rather than being like, oh, like I'm losing $1 each day on paid ads. Like, then sorry. Like, and I openly tell them like your dollars are then better invested in an organic channel. And what surprises me, often businesses who have never run paid ads come up with questions like how much sales can we expect, how much revenue can we expect, but you do not even have a benchmark conversion rate of your website. And the second biggest mistake people do is considering the traffic from paid ads, like irrespective of Google, Meta, or any other publisher. They expect it to do the same things that maybe an organic channel is doing, or maybe an email marketing is doing for them. So that's what I like to discuss with the clients upfront, is that paid ads, the intent, the brand visibility, the trust, everything is very different compared to people who have already, interacted with your brand. Someone who's receiving and has opted to get your email newsletters is going to be very different from someone who found you on social. So that is one thing. Like having that expectations right is something that really helps me get there with like successful campaigns versus non-success like unsuccessful campaigns.
I spend a lot of time in the world of lead gen. I know you do too. So especially when in the world of lead gen as well as AI, there's a lot of campaign performance that's influenced by what happens beyond the ads themselves, like the landing pages, the messaging, lead quality. So can you walk us through a real situation where fixing something off platform completely changed the actual performance of the campaign?
Yeah, like this is very recent. Like, yeah, I am currently consulting with a client who is into the B2B space. They offer team building events across like North America, Australia, UK, and all these markets. So, what we've realized is that, and this is something I like to see whenever I'm taking any consulting projects on, or I'm working with any clients, is how much pressure do you have on that one paid media campaign or the one paid media team? Like, what I see is that people often in their marketing sales meeting will always say that marketing campaigns are not performing, we're not getting the right quality of leads that we need. But like this is like a very blank statement. So to put context to it with a recent example, is I asked the client, like, you need to break down those metrics for me. When you mean lead quality is an issue, what exactly is the issue? Is the number of people an issue? Is their budget is an issue? Is the product that you are offering, like, are they looking for something else? Is price a concern? Like, there are so many XYZ reasons. I told them I need to get that exact reason of like, why do you think that this campaign is not doing what it wants it to do? And then when I break down the numbers, I found out that the campaign is quite profitable. We are getting the leads that we want. We have the leads to meeting. So, like, there are two metric with lead gen now these days we are tracking is like just the lead form, how the lead scoring is working, and how many people are actually booking meetings out of it. On the campaign level, everything works great. What I found in the back end is they do not have enough calendar availability to be like, tackling this issue here. And so like it sounds so simple, right? Like I'm just telling you, hey Danny, just open more of your calendar slots. But those process to actually get to that issue, that's a lot of back and forth. That's a lot of dashboard. That's a lot of data, especially where we are transitioning from like Excel sheets and meetings to like be a AI driven company. So I think that's one of those things with lead gen. And this is something I tell my clients, like year on year, average CPC for Google is going to go up. Like paid ads is no more like only the premium businesses are running ads. Now everybody is running paid ads. So you can expect your average CPC to definitely go up year over year. What are we doing on the back end to convert that traffic better has become my conversations. Like no more I speak about what the CTR is, what the CPL is, what the ad strength and all those things have become. They are quite important, no doubt, but they have become so off the conversation. Now it's really about business impact. Like how many hours can be open on the calendar? So actually trying to understand the pattern. What I found out is on Friday their lead to meeting booking rate was like above the average target and like one of the top par in the industry average. The reason is because you have more calendar availability. Your sales calendar are so widely open for the next week that, the same traffic. I'm not changing anything on Friday, same campaign, same budgets, everything same, but you are seeing this excellent performance. So there's a lot of steps that, go in finding the problem, especially when it's outside of a paid ads platform.
We have a client who's in the moving business, and they were complaining that, just not seeing the ROAS was not enough for them. But then you actually go in and like, okay, but you can't handle it anymore. Yeah, it's just your calendar is booked and that is what it is. You need to add more. So yeah, it's crazy. And I think it brings up an interesting point. Like the world of PPC for lead gen and the world for PPC for e-commerce is so different. With lead gen, like you said, not every form fill that we get is equal. and we really have to look at it after the fact. But in ecom, like a purchase is a purchase. Obviously, you'll have certain purchases of higher value, higher cart, and things like that. But like people don't realize there's a lot more work that is required to do a good job when it comes to lead gen, because it's very easy for it just to say, oh, look at how many leads I'm bringing. But really, it could, like you said, like there are so many areas, like the pipeline, the stages, where things could break down, where the problem exists. It exists so much more, right? Like we think of like a e-commerce shopping cart and like add to cart, view product. But this shopping cart, it's a lot bigger. Any other points that like when you've seen, like you like to explain to people the difference between lead gen and ecom when it comes to paid search?
People are one side, but as an industry, I want to speak that there are so many resources, good quality resources for e-com, but there are a very few when it comes to lead gen. Like I think lead gen marketers are so busy fixing issues and scaling that we do not have time to create those good quality resources or like any quality resources. Like with lead gen, I often struggle. With e-commerce, I know I could be purchasing some really good CRO experiments. Good UI is a person like he's amazing for B2C. I follow him for all my B2C clients. But yeah, for on the region side, I always struggle. So that's a difference. And again, like I think no two businesses are same when you say like how B2C and B2B work. Like even in the lead gen space, the same like as you mentioned about a moving company, your moving company client campaign can perform so differently compared to my moving client company, same industry, but the services that they offer, where do they offer those services, like how much is their credibility in the market, like all these xyz factors matter so much in lead gen businesses compared to e-commerce where like everything is just available online, like people go based on reviews and like all those fancy items. So it's easy to sell B2C as compared to like scaling B2B because it requires strategy, it requires human resources, it requires staffing. There's so much of planning that goes in B2B. Like B2C is like, okay, you put extra products on your website and like definitely there's inventory and all those things that goes on B2C side. But I think that's much easy to handle as compared to having to solve a B2B problem. From a paid ads point of view, what I have seen definitely is there's going to be seasonality affecting B2C and like B2 or be like lead gen campaigns a lot. So that is also a big factor. For an e-commerce thing, seasonality does not last for more than a week or so. Like you will see that upward trend coming, those campaigns picking up. Like there just has to be a long weekend or like a Mother's Day or Christmas, Valentine's Day coming, and you see an exponential growth. However, when it comes to lead gen, seasonality, something I have seen, it goes in like for 2-3 months because it's so like weather driven. For example, like moving, okay, people now want to move in winters. Okay, so like good 2-3 months is something that you would not expect that good performance. Wherein for any e-commerce client that I have worked for or I'm working currently, like seasonality is just 1-2 weeks, and then you start seeing the campaign performance pick up from there.
Yeah, and what you mentioned is something I noticed also recently. Just like so I recently created a Claude dashboard. We've got 4 clients that are in the same industry. Most of them they're in separate regions, but some of them are in the same region. So I've created a dashboard. I call it like my industry dashboard. I want to see all of these clients in one place and looking. And it is crazy to think that one client, their CPCs are like could be 50% higher, their conversion rate's different, and it's literally like the same thing, but like that rings so true. Like you could be the same exact business advertising in the same exact area, but it's totally different because of so many factors that affect not just putting an ad on Google.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with B2C or like e-commerce, you can test a lot of ad copy angles. You can run a lot of landing page experiments. But when it comes to lead gen, like you have to stick to a certain kind of messaging. There's a very limited test that you can be like running and doing.
It's interesting you mentioned messaging. So messaging, I find, is often where service businesses struggle because people like to talk about themselves rather than the client's pain. How do you help clients find the angle that actually resonates with them?
This is definitely, I again come back to the sales feedback. Like, if you like, what is that pain point? Like, why are people not converting when they've put in the effort to clicking ad is easy? Like, taken that effort to fill a form, show up on that demo meeting call with you. So, why in the end are they not converting? One reason, like to give you a live example on how I changed the ad copy, is why I found that, like this client that I spoke about for B2B, they were getting a lot of clients for like field trips for school events, activities, and stuff like that. So it's still one of those things that they do. What I realized that our ads were not very clear. They spoke about team building events, they spoke about, like group activities. But what change that I did was like I added build for corporate teams, like specifically to be focused in H2, so that all the ads people know that okay, even though we are team building, because that's how people are going to search, like team building events Toronto. But what different, like for me to attract only the corporates, I have to say that in the ad. So this is a big bit that people miss, is they do not speak properly in their ads, as we've discussed. So I think that also comes from a lot of analysis on why people are, like, sales feedback, why people are not converting.
So, Ashna, are you a big believer of pinning headlines?
I am a big believer. Yeah. I am not comfortable giving control to Google. And as a personality, I'm a very control freak woman. Like I need to have the last say. But I don't know. Even with AI and all, I haven't been comfortable giving like complete control to Google, especially when it comes to lead gen businesses.
Some of our listeners, they don't necessarily understand this. So I'm just going to quickly break it down. But bottom line is that when it comes to Google Ads, currently, the type of ads that we run are responsive. So you put a whole bunch of headlines, you put a bunch of descriptions, and Google finds the best combination. But when you think about it, in a world of lead gen, like Ashna said, it's like we do team building, but we specifically do corporate. So imagine if that headline is like one of the 15. Google decides, okay, we don't really like that headline, we're not going to use it. And we're getting leads, but then it's like, okay, but are those leads actually corporate? So really, I need to make sure that every single time this ad shows up, it always says corporate. And so you have the ability to pin that actual headline, but the problem is when you pin something, you limit the AI functionality. And therefore, the people who are like, we need to lean into AI, say don't pin things. But on the other hand, you can see that for certain businesses, especially when the keywords that they're targeting are very general and open, if you don't stop them, like Ashna was beautifully explained, if you don't stop them at that ad level, the click level, it can result into a lot of wasted traffic.
Wasted spend, yeah.
So I think it's important because most people, I'm a big believer in leaning into AI, but there are very clear cases where, sometimes you can't because Google just doesn't know enough in order to make the right decision.
Going back to my last full-time job that I had was like a luxury travel company. So Google did try, and like we were spending upwards of $2-3 million a month. So Google did try us to convince, like, hey, unpin your headlines and do this and do that. And we were like, no, like luxury as a term is so important in the ads for us. And like even after mentioning, because luxury could mean very different for two people. Like luxury to me is different price point. Luxury to someone else is a very different price point. So we said, like, imagine not having luxury at all. Even though we have luxury pin and like this is what our conversion rate looks like, we cannot be testing, like not having any control on our ad copies. Like even with like descriptions, like I even pin my descriptions, like forget about headlines. Like I do not want to give. That's why I'm not a big fan of PMAX campaign, and it has not proven to be a successful channel, I think, in the lead gen overall for anybody. Like all the talks that I have seen on LinkedIn or anywhere. IMAX is the next big thing, which I'm excited, and I'm testing few campaigns. But yeah, that's why I wasn't a fan of PMAX, is like no control at all. Like I cannot live in that way. Like, that's the last thing in AI. I cannot live in that world where I have no control on the message.
PMAX in general has its own issues when it comes to leads.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting from an AI Max perspective of where that goes. So let's move over to mentorship. We touched upon it lightly before, but obviously on this podcast, we talk a lot about mentorship. So how would you define a mentor?
I would define a mentor at different stages in my different, like in my career. Like when I was starting off, someone, of course, who gave me that first job into marketing, a big thing. And that's why I say, like, be careful on your first job in marketing because you will learn a lot over there. I learned processes, systems, and like there were great mentors who were ready to share their real life campaign experiences because that's a lot. So mentorship, yes, I would like to have someone as my mentor who is definitely giving me the guidance from a real life or a real campaign point of view. Like I've had leaders and mentors who were there just for people management. They couldn't themselves log in into Google Ads or Microsoft Ads. They was just there for people management. And that's how companies operate, bigger companies. Totally get it. But I would like someone to have mentorship from who's someone who's invested years on like doing all these things, and irrespective of the platform, like someone who's handled marketing and like understands how it functions, what's the importance of all these elements put together. So someone who's experienced, hands-on experience is something like you yourself, like you run an agency. So I'm sure the mentorship that you offer to your crowd or your students and a lot of other people is definitely going to be coming from real world life experience as opposed to just like learning in a classroom environment. Attending these networking events, speaking at these conferences, interacting with people doing that real life stuff in these conferences has really helped me like gain a better insight.
You mentioned that you've been heavily influenced by Sabri Subi and Daniel Throssell when it comes to direct response and outcome-focused communication. What's the one lesson from them that most changed how you write ads or structure campaigns?
Sabri Subi always points about how you will handle that pain point or objection at the ad level and like maybe Google, irrespective of the platform. So how are you doing that pain point analysis first? Analysis, like you cannot write anything you do not know. So first understanding what is the pain point of that market audience, researching different angles on it, and now using like AI, it's very easy to write all these ad copies. So definitely, but like having that idea and thought has definitely come from reading his book. Like Sell Like Crazy is like a textbook. I still have the physical copy with me. 5 years. I got the book in like COVID. Like it was shipped from Australia and whatnot, but it's totally worth. That's the best investment I have made, to be honest. I think it cost $25, but that book has traveled continents with me, and yeah, like that book is really good. Really following those direct response thing has helped. Like to give you a real life example, I did follow a lot of his like AI content and like AI driven ad copies that he's suggesting. And my CTR on Google for a non-branded campaign is like 25%. I think this is the highest for a lead gen campaign.
You're showing off now.
Yeah. I mean that is like something that I really like. Like again, although I don't focus on these vanity metrics like CTR and all, but then I was like, yeah,
It's
maybe
still cool.
something.
It's still
Yeah,
cool.
and it's still cool. The ad is doing his job. That's what Sabri says. The
Yeah.
job of your ad is not to make that sale. It's just to get people interested and clicked, and then you have levers to like convert that traffic and get the right kind of people that you want.
So for someone early in their paid media career who wants to be a craftsperson, have the right mindset, do a great job, leave it better the way that you found it, what's the one habit you'd tell them to start from day one?
Take ownership. This is something that I have struggled like when I am like managing a bunch of fresh candidates, and like I was a mentor to few interns. What I think is people do not take enough ownership for the campaigns. Like when I started my career, and even now, of course, I always act as if the money or the ad spend was going from my own bank account. Then you are
I love it.
then you are so careful of even the one extra dollar or the one extra click being wasted because it's your own money. Then you are like always on top of your things. So I think taking that ownership, and it will really pay off. Like that is something that has really helped me, is like taking that complete ownership, and that shows the way you will have those conversations internally with your clients. Like even if you venture out on your own later on, having that ownership mindset is going to be a game. And I think that's for any industry, but in like, yeah, specifically paid ads, because there's so much of dollars being invested in a third party platform like Google or Meta. So I think, yeah, definitely taking ownership. Like it's my money, it's going out from my bank account.
You know what? We've had over 100 episodes and I haven't heard that one yet, but it speaks to me the most because I speak to that all the time. I basically tell people, would you make that decision if it was your money? Right? Like, would you really do that? Or would you have really missed that? Or like, I'm not saying people make lots of mistakes, but you're right, man. If you're looking at it as coming out of your pocket, you are going to act very differently than if it's like, okay, it's just coming, free.
We're testing. It's just a weekend. Like I didn't know this was running. Like this is all the answers that I've heard in the past. Like, oh, I don't know that. So it's like,
yeah,
no,
I was not expecting that, but I'm so happy you mentioned it. Thank you. It's time for a lightning round. I'm going to ask a quick question, and you're going to think about what pops into your mind. And if you want to talk about it a little bit, that's fine. But we'll kind of move through these relatively quickly. All right. What's one paid ads tool, not an AI tool, that you could not run accounts without?
I think, of course, Google And like, yeah, of course, the Google Ads platform. And then before these dashboards and AI existed, I was heavily dependent on Google Sheets for my pivots and like whatnot. So like Google Sheets and pivots is something I used to run on. So yeah.
For sure. I think a paid media marketer needs to know their sheets and pivots. It's a good thing. What's the most recent thing you said yes to before you felt 100% ready?
Growth expansion plans, geography where they have seen limited success with. And for some reason, I was like, I think I can make that profitable for you. So let's see how
Nice.
it goes. Yeah.
What's one book, marketer, or resource that completely changed how you think about direct response or conversion or paid media?
Kasabi Shubi Sell Like Crazy is really a must buy for anyone. And apart from that, like as I mentioned, Jacob, I think he's also based out of Toronto. He is a good UI guy. His CRO experiments are great. Like all the clients that I have spoken to, they've ended up buying his subscription or hiring and like working with him one on one. And I have worked with him previously in my last full-time employment. So the insights that he gives, he works like a team. Like he is the one who takes the ownership on the CRO side. He really works as a team, and your dollars are well invested. Like all his tests pay for his cost himself. Like they are that profitable, and he's that invested in new tests.
Outside of ownership, in one word, what's the most important quality for a paid media specialist in 2026?
Learning. Like this is a space that is evolving. It will evolve. You can see posts like SEO is dead, paid ads is dead, nobody's profitable. Then how do you run your marketing, right? So it's always like nothing is dead. Everything is alive. You just need to be like continuously improving. Do not be stuck in your systems and your old methodologies. That's where you will be like complaining and like not having enough exposure. Do not worry on getting that next salary bracket. That is something that's a mistake that even I have done early in my career. Look for initially, at least look for that opportunity that's going to give you maximum learning, maximum now AI tools, a company who's like AI enabled. And so continuously keep learning is like one big thing for freelance. Keep evolving.
Yeah, 100%. And then finally, you're about to go on stage at SMX Advanced to talk about agentic PPC. What's the one thing you hope that the audience walks away with, believing that they don't believe right now?
AI is great. You need to start using and automating a lot of your daily tasks. All the data that you need is something that AI will give. Again, do not blindly follow it. Like I'm a big fan of Codex these days, so I use Codex a lot. Do not blindly follow it. Pick parts of where you think like it could work and still utilize your human brain for where when it comes to implementation, use human brain. When it comes to like ideas, pick up all those good things from AI. So I think there needs to be a balance between the two for sure.
So Ashna, where can listeners find you and reach out?
LinkedIn. Like these days, I'm quite active only on LinkedIn. Now, none of the other social channels. LinkedIn is totally active. Or you can like reach out to me via my email, hello@reachashna.com.
Super. And we'll include those in the episode notes. Well, Ashna, thank you so much for joining us and for helping us think more clearly about what it actually takes to make paid ads drive real business growth, and for reminding us that the goal was never more clicks. It is always about better outcomes. Thank you for listening to the Digital Marketing Mentor podcast. Be sure to check us out online at thedmmentor.com and at the DM Mentor on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more Marketing Mentor magic. See you next time.